Hello everyone, this is Alexander Zapata reporting for Professor Brian Taramina Barrientos, Professor of Advanced Composition at Nevada State University, and today I'll be doing a multimodal presentation on rising grocery prices and how they are affecting us in the Las Vegas Valley. To help you follow along, here are some key words and phrases. This article is going to touch on the topics of inflation, because inflation is why grocery prices are rising. It's also going to discuss the government's views on this problem. I will also be discussing grocery prices and what grocery stores are doing to reduce the burden of the consumer. I'll also be tying this topic back to social justice, as this is a serious topic for social justice. And I'll also be discussing how the pandemic played a role in all of this. So what led me to this research question is that inflation in Nevada has been getting a lot of attention since the pandemic. It's been affecting everyone, but the people who've been affected the most are those who are retired or living on government assistance. Many people are struggling to balance their budgets, and they feel the significant impacts from the increasing prices. And others, while they've lived comfortable lives, had to either alter their lifestyles to fit the rising prices. One thing I'm going to try to address here is, why did grocery prices in the Las Vegas Valley get so high? How is it affecting the people in Las Vegas Valley? And to tie it back to social justice, I'm going to be describing how this is not just affecting retired people or people living on fixed incomes, but also those who are not within that social group, whether it's minorities, majorities, or people in between. The people outside that group are being impacted too. As grocery prices continue to impact the residents of the Las Vegas Valley, knowing why prices have climbed so high and what is being done to reduce their effects will be crucial to ensuring financial stability. So these are the citations for some of the literature that helped me build a foundation for this problem. I've left links to each source in the description down below, but to give you a brief overview, the first two sources show that being exposed to increasing grocery prices can impact how you would expect inflation to rise. They also explain how grocery prices are not stable and they change a lot. Skipping down to the second to last one in this list, an article by researcher Sean Golonka explained the stances of Democratic Governor of Nevada Steve Sisolak and the Republican Sheriff of Clark County, Nevada at the time, Joe Lombardo, on the issue of inflation. While they have completely different views, with Sisolak acknowledging the prices, but really doing nothing to address the rising prices, instead focusing time and resources on other things, whereas Lombardo has been attacking the Democratic Party for their contribution. To get an idea of how concerned Lombardo is, I used the bottom source, the article from Help Advisor, which surveyed results from the U.S. Census Bureau, summarized that Nevada has the second highest grocery prices in the United States, second only to California. And to investigate a potential cause for rising inflation, I also touched on researcher of food and drinks, Deanne Durbin, about grocery store chains Kroger and Albertsons' plans to merge and how the United States tried to stop it via a lawsuit. This article explained to me that merging companies is kind of like a double-edged sword. While it might reduce the prices, it could also negatively impact other aspects, causing prices to go up. Now, My methods for this research, I had 3 of them. So, first, I did a grocery price observation. I went to a local grocery store. I took some pictures of 18 randomly selected items to see how much they increased and decreased in costs over a 10-week period, and compiled them here. I also sent out a survey for customers to view and input their answers. This would give me some data from the customer's point of view. But the most important piece of data was an interview I had with a store manager. So before I explain the results, I first need to give this disclaimer. To protect the identities of the recipients, the store, and the store manager, I will not mention the names of either the grocery store, the store manager, any of the survey respondents, or even the parent company that the store belongs to. All I will say is that this was a chain store, which means anyone within the United States could go to the store no matter where they were. So, here is the top half of my grocery price observation chart. When I was putting this together, it wouldn't all fit in one slide, so I had to split it across 2 slides. Anyway, I observed the prices over the 10-week period. While it does look promising, with milk being reduced after week 2, the prices of the eggs tell a different story as it goes up by a couple of cents. But as we can see here, the item with the lowest price tag were the bananas. Whereas if we go to the next slide here, the item with the highest price tag is the wine. Now, this was a relatively cheap bottle of wine, but it was still higher than all the others. Even the laundry detergent, after it boosted in price after week 2. But the main part of these observations are these totals down at the bottom. If a customer were to purchase every single item every week, these would be the expected bills. Now, this is just the base prices and not taking into account any sales, but to help ensure the most accurate results, I did calculate the sales in a separate document, and here are the price totals we get from them. As you can see, while $130-something is still pretty significant price, none of these prices ever reach $140. This tells me that while the grocery prices were indeed going up at a significant rate, grocery store chains are doing their best to make the final bill more manageable. Now, in order to obtain the customer's point of view, I realized that I needed to get some perspective from a wide audience. So I set up a Google Docs survey and sent the link out to a multitude of people. I got 101 responses, and highlighted here are some of the questions. Questions I asked, like, how much do you usually spend on groceries? Where do you receive most of your income? Do you live alone? Do you live with other people? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your financial situation? And how would you rate the impact raising grocery prices are having on your lives? And why do you think grocery prices have risen as they have now? So I posted the slide for 3 of the questions here in this presentation to help you understand. So, starting with the multiple choice question of how much do you usually spend per week on groceries, over half of my respondents reported that they were spending $100 to $200 a week. The next highest option was less than $100, with less than a quarter, probably closer to a fifth, with the combined totals of the last 2 options being more than the previous answer. On the question where I asked about their financial situations on a scale of 1 to 10, it made this common bell curve here. This implies that most of my respondents considered themselves middle class. But when I asked about the impacts the rising grocery prices were having on their lifestyles, things get a little interesting. So as you can see here, over 2/3 of the respondents rated this above a 5, which means their lifestyles are being impacted by price changes in serious ways. 30 of these respondents specifically report themselves as retired and living on fixed incomes, or are working low-quality jobs that pay $200 to $500 per week. And for living situations, only one of my respondents stated that they were living alone. The others lived with one or more people or pets. However, many of them agreed that they were spending way less money before the pandemic and had to make changes to adapt to the rising costs. And they also collectively see prices rising in the future. Now, to obtain the perspective on the store itself, I also conducted an interview. Here's the list of questions that I've done for them, like how long have they been working, have they seen any increase, and do the owners seem concerned? But anyway, here are some highlights from that interview. So he confirmed that higher shipping prices and increased wages are the main causes of higher shelf prices. He also mentions that anything like a chicken flu will hurt the supply. Chickens, especially meat prices, that plays a key factor. And when I asked him about Albertsons and Kroger's plans to merge, he wasn't really concerned. He said that they were going to do their best for the people and the associates, and in his opinions, Albertsons isn't really a competitor in the Las Vegas market, with the majority of stores competing more with Walmart. Well, they do very competitive price check. He doesn't really see them affecting anything in the market. So what if Kroger and Albertsons does decide to go through with the merge? It's not going to negatively affect the grocery prices here in the Las Vegas Valley. Not by a significant margin, anyway. Now, to discuss my findings, the survey results contradict the Help Advisor article, as the totals from the article line up with the $200 to $300 option from my survey, which only 14.9% of respondents replied to. Now, part of the reason for that is because out of the 101 responses, 71 of them were local, and 19 out of those 71 were college students. However, all of the survey participants agreed that they were spending more than they were before the pandemic. Let me give you a real-life example. Earlier in March, I went with interviewee number 96 to the grocery store to pick up an item. Since respondent number 96 was not the primary shopper of his household, when he observed the price tag on the item, he was shocked. His reaction told me that people who are not exposed to grocery prices enough have lower expectations of inflation. Other than that, almost all my respondents agreed that prices are going to continue to rise. However, there is a lot of disagreement. No one agrees on what is causing inflation. But here are some plans for the future. The store manager explained in his interview that the cost of wages to the parent company also affects the grocery prices, and their company is also planning on building a warehouse by the Las Vegas Motor Speedway to help reduce shipping costs. So, in conclusion, soaring grocery prices has been an ongoing topic. And while Nevada having the second highest grocery prices in the United States and the closest supplier, California, having the highest, Nevada's grocery prices are affecting everyone. Now, the way people are affected by rising grocery prices is seen in the way they had to change their spending habits. People have used to have more disposable income, and knowing prices are on the rise, grocery stores have been working hard to reduce the burden of the consumers while still making a profit. Now, a major implication of this research article is that people are not happy with the government's actions. They either approve with the government's actions, but they wanted more, or they disapprove. Many of them agree that the government's decisions were not in the best interest of the economy, but there has so far been no consensus among them as to what the government should do. It's also implied that while increasing wages might benefit a few, the prices of everything else will rise to compensate, impacting everyone. Now, this research is not complete. Now, it's obvious that 101 responses cannot speak for all the citizens in the Las Vegas Valley. A larger sample size will be required to obtain satisfactory results as this valley continues to grow in population by the day. It'll also be worth looking into how distribution centers and farms work to see if there are any problems on their end that would negatively impact the prices. And performing more interviews with managers of both more grocery chains and even smaller, more local stores could also help expand the research. One more thing that could be done is a replication study. Basically, have another researcher redo this study and see if they get similar results. Hopefully, with the information presented here, people can more easily navigate the reasons behind the chaos of these fluctuating prices. And hopefully by the customers, grocery stores, and the government powers overseeing all of them making good decisions, we can all find some sense of financial stability. Here's a list of my works cited. Most of these works cited and consulted. Most of these didn't end up in this final presentation, but they influenced my way of thinking, so it's important that they're viewed here. Since not all of them would fit on one slide, I had to put them here in this separate slide. I'll be posting links to each of these things down below in the description. Thank you for watching. I hope you found my presentation insightful, and have a nice rest of your day. Thank you.